It's been really insane, literally insane. Um, Things are good. We're able to put it together just by being creative and reinventing the business model, and with the support and help of good friends and talented people, we've been able to work our way through.
Yeah. So can you just share with us what you do? So you're both musician and a director of of Rock Academy. So if you can just talk about both.
Sure. Yeah, I've been a performer for years, decades at this point, actually. And once we opened Rock Academy 7 years ago, I've pretty much dived into that full time, and that's all I really do now. I do a few performances myself a year, maybe, and the rest of the time I'm busy putting on shows with kids age 8 to 18 and adults. We also have an adult program, and we work to help kids sort of break through their own insecurities and their own hang-ups, and get on stage and perform. Um, and it's wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. Well, my son Takemi has been with Rock Academy for wow, almost a year now, and he loves it. He's just, everything about it. He loves learning the instruments. He loves being with the friends, and he loves performing. So yeah, thanks for all that you do. He also belongs to the Hudson Valley Jazz Orchestra with Dan Schott. I don't know if you know him. So
Yes.
yeah. So being in those two musical spaces have been such a blessing. We're so lucky. So, but it's been pretty challenging with this COVID thing.
Yes, absolutely. Especially horn players. Unfortunately, Dikemi's getting very good on the saxophone and other various horn instruments, but horns are actually we call them germ bazookas at this point, because you blow air through something, and that's what makes the sound. So we've actually had to take horns out of our program because of COVID, unfortunately, for the time being.
Yeah.
But we made it work. We have keyboards that can play horns. They don't sound anywhere near as good as an actual brass instrument, but we've been trying to make it work.
And how did the pandemic impact you personally and your staff? I mean, I guess the focus of this question is financial, because that's a big one.
Well, yes, we've been losing money for 6 months, basically. We have been lucky enough to be able to maintain our staff, and we've actually been able to help out some other artists who are also helping us out, because they come in and we can give them work teaching. But it has mightily affected our bottom line, mightily affected our business. Young people, with vulnerable family members, have stayed away, because that's what you have to do to keep them safe. And other than that, it's just been very challenging. Like I said, we've had to reinvent how we do what we do. A lot of stuff has gone through Zoom, which is not, it's great for meetings and things, but not the best for musical instruction. It does not transmit sound well, and there's a delay, and it's very difficult. It's a difficult teaching tool.
Yeah. And have any of the government assistance helped you personally and your staff and your business? Which program worked best?
We were unable to get the PPP. The bureaucracy was so crazy with it. They were asking for things that I don't think I've ever heard of. So we were unable to get it, and it went away before we were able to finish all of the the papers. But we did get a loan, which we'll have to pay back. But that is going to help get us through these months.
Did anybody get the enhanced unemployment?
Some of our employees did. Mostly performers, got enhanced unemployment, which was great again until it ran out.
So if that kind of thing, the unemployment, the enhanced unemployment that some of us were receiving, if that became an ongoing thing, like if that became a permanent thing, how do you think that would impact your business, and your circle of friends in your industry?
It would immensely help. I don't know the exact numbers, but something like a third of artists and creators are at or below the poverty line, and rely on, and not just performers and creators, but also support staff. Your engineers, your roadies, stagehands, things like that. Rely on philanthropic sort of outlays to survive, basically. And it's a very few people who understand how important the arts are to a society. And so to have something that was ongoing would be an immense help. The artists that I know would be healthier. They would be able to put on bigger and better shows. They would be able to do more as artists, basically. Because for a performer, when we get up on stage and do what we do, it's not the money. This is why we do what we do. But we do have to also pay bills. So I've heard some arguments against universal basic income where they say people will become lazy and not work because they'll just live off, and that's completely misinformed, in my opinion. Because again, as performers, as creators, we do what we do because it's a compulsion. We have to, it's what drives us to create, and to have a fair living wage would just be an immense help.
Yeah. What kills me is that most everybody says that music and art is really necessary in our lives, especially music. I mean, world without music, what's that? It's like, is that even worth living? But when it comes to artists and musicians being supported, or at least, having some kind of security, everybody's like, well, there's nothing they can do about it. I mean, that's just the way kind of the system is set up.
That's the way the system is set up, and it's set up to as a sort of a funnel. The industry, if you can even call it an industry, basically funnels everything to a managerial cast, and a lot of times the artists are left hanging in the wind, and it's predatory, frankly. So, like I said, I think we would have much better art. We would have a lot more of it, and just brighten everyone's lives that much more.
Yeah. And in your case, as a director, you're a director, right, at the Rock Academy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, as a director of such an amazing organization, I mean, the only complaint that I have about Rock Academy is that it's not everywhere. You know what I mean? We should have Rock Academy in every community. That would solve so many problems with our children right now, So, I mean, this is a big question, but what do you think would make it possible, to make something like Rock Academy or that Hudson Valley Jazz Orchestra that Dan is doing? What do you think would make it possible to have that in our lives everywhere?
I would need to be able to train people to direct. I would need just enough staff to be able to send to other locations and do the work, which that takes time and that takes money. We are lucky because of where we are. We have people who travel 3 hours several times a week each way to get just to our school. So if we could, lessen that travel for them and actually have a location near them, it would be immense.
I'm sure you've thought about going in the direction of making Rock Academy a nonprofit. I'm sure people have talked to you about it.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
We're working at it. Actually, we actually operate as a nonprofit, basically. So we're looking into it. We're working on it. We're trying to create a separate entity that is a nonprofit that could work somehow with our business, as well as other endeavors like ours in the area. There are several who could use some help. So we would like to be able to help them as well.
Yeah, I do think that forming some kind of coalition or collaborative effort would be the way to go. Even
Yeah,
though, of course, pandemic makes everything so difficult.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. We do work with another organization in the area called Drew's Energy, and they're a dance company.
Yeah.
And it works really well between the two of us because we provide the music and then they dance, and it's outstanding. It's to witness is outstanding. And we're doing something with them later this month, actually.
Great. Takemi was part of that too when he was younger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great organization. I love
they
the
are.
people who operate it, and they're just wonderful.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. How are your parents? They're musicians too.
My in-laws are
Oh,
musicians.
okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
didn't know that. Yeah.
They're good. You know, they're struggling like the rest of us through this time. They're also visual artists, so they can still work. In their shops. Artists are a funny breed. We like really dark rooms where we can do our work, and then we like really bright lights to show it off in. So having a quarantine is not the worst thing for getting that type of creative work done, but it's a real struggle for the getting paid part.
Yeah. And how do you feel? How uh, how are your musician friends? How are they doing? How are they faring right now?
Well, not well. Like I said, they're. So I know musicians on just about every level of the spectrum, and like I said, about at least a third of them are at or below the poverty line, and they have been able to transition somewhat into some sort of web-based performance, which does not pay very well because there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of content out there. And my other friends at the other end of the spectrum are talking like they can't even go back out until 2022, because when they put their names on a marquee, there are 20,000 people show up, and it doesn't matter if there's a vaccine next year, you're still not going to get 20,000 people together for another 2 years or so.
So how do you foresee the future for music and musicians?
Um, I'm optimistic. It's going to come back. It's never actually going to leave. Like I said, we're creative people. We're figuring it out. But it is a struggle, and it's insulting when people say, "Why don't you just get creative?" You That's what we do. That's what we've been doing. That's what we've done our entire lives. And to have someone who spends daddy's money tell us to get creative is offensive. But having said that, I'm very optimistic. I think it's going to start small again, and it's just going to continue to build. Smaller crowds is what I mean. Smaller shows, but people are not going to stop going to see. It's the lifeblood of communities, So to have it around is important for a community, and we're going to figure out ways to keep it going until we're able to gather again by the hundreds, and then by the thousands, and then by the tens of thousands. That's how it's going to work.
And how are the children doing? How are the students doing? Do you see do you see the impact of the quarantine, or are they any different?
Absolutely. And when we're able to get them together, for outdoor activities and things like that, the parents come up and say, I finally see my child again. I saw my child slipping away because of quarantine and the screen time and all of this, and just to see them near other people, speaking to other people, has been a godsend to them. And according to the parents, and I've seen a very positive change myself, just in the sense that the main point of any type of musical education is to get the kid to practice, because words don't really translate. I could talk till I was blue in the face about technique and this and that and the other thing, but the real goal is to get them just to practice. And having seen them come together again, I've seen an dramatic increase in practicing and just time spent doing what they're supposed to do, and learning. So that part of it's been actually great.
All right. So to close this, what do you say to your students, like young aspiring musicians? What advice do you have going through this challenging time right now?
Stick to your guns. Practice, 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 practice. That's my advice.